So a very good, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Welcome to all of you to this very important webinar on a very solemn and auspicious day. On the occasion of the World Rivers Day, we are celebrating the day by holding this webinar. On the part of the organizers, I am Partho Jyoti Das. I will be moderating this webinar, and with me is Udan Berthakur, who is taking care of the logistics. Ladies and gentlemen, you already know about why this day is so significant. This day is celebrated all over the world since the year 2005. And the purpose of celebrating the World River Day is to highlight and appreciate the many values of rivers and to encourage people to strive to increase public awareness and encourage the improved stewardship of rivers around the world. And its motto is, rivers in every country face an array of threats, and only our active involvement will ensure their health in the years ahead. So since the focus of this webinar is mainly on the rivers of Assam, most of our panelists will touch upon various issues which have cropped up around rivers of Assam. But just to refresh you all about why this discussion is going to be very important for in the discourse of environmentalism in Assam is that for last 3 decades, we have experienced and we have seen that the overall situation of rivers in Assam has been slowly degrading, resulting in the present situation where we have identified about more than 25 rivers, really smaller rivers, who are on the verge of dying, or some of rivers already being considered as dead. So this is a very, very surprising kind of event or happening in a land which is called the land of rivers. Every inch of land is a part of some paleo river channels, and the state which where our societies and cultures are intricately linked to rivers. Rivers are a part of our folklore, our music, our literature, and our culture in general. And not to speak of the bigger rivers, which is Brahmaputra and Barak and their tributaries, this is also time to attend to relatively smaller rivers. And we have recently classified different rivers into several categories, which probably previously were not spoken of. For example, now we are talking about dying rivers, degraded rivers, smaller rivers, marginalized rivers, and even endangered rivers. The issues around all these rivers, including and some new issues, and including those very well-known issues like flood and erosion, all these problems, all these aspects are going to be discussed by a very high-power panel that we have today, whom I will introduce in their turn. But just to start the proceeding, I would like to invite Dr. Mridul Hazarika, who is now the Vice Chancellor of the University of Science and Technology, Meghalaya. He is a former Vice Chancellor of Guwahati University and also now an advisor of the State Innovation and Transformation Ayog, Government of Assam. He is an internationally reputed tea scientist. He was the director of the Tea Research Association Tokline Experimental Station. He was the chief scientist of the Science Foundation of the Tribal and Rural Resource Development, Bhubaneswar. He was a visiting professor to the School of Applied Sciences, Cranfield University of UK. I now request Hazarika sir to start and to kick off the deliberation on behalf of the entire panelists and the moderator. Thank you, sir. It's up to you.
Good morning to all of you. I have seen the list of distinguished panelists, and I'm really perturbed. If I could be of any help in this webinar, the basic issue is that I am no way an expert as compared to all others in panelists here, as far as the river is concerned. My association with the river is that if I go to the bank of river Brahmaputra and stand there, and I'm really inspired by looking at the river, its magnanimity, its vastness, and it is something has made me to love rivers. That's all my introduction to the river is. But what is important today is that we need to love the river. The rivers are associated to human civilization, and rivers are lifeline of humanity. And sometimes the rivers appear to us as disaster, no doubt about it. At the time of flood, and when the poor people have to migrate, and their life is in a dangerous, difficult situation, and they appear to be disaster. But the fact remains, the rivers, if we see, they're more of resources than disaster. And the rivers, they're rivers which help us in transportation, easy transportation, rivers which help us to make the land fertile, the rivers which make us water available. This cannot be rivers cannot be a problem. And rivers are always our friend. Rivers are always our close to our heart, and therefore we have to look at river from this perspective. Well, whenever we talk of rivers in Assam or river anything, then we can't really ignore the river Brahmaputra. The river Brahmaputra is again close to my heart for another reason, that I was initiating a project on Brahmaputra Study Center at the University of Guwahati when I was the Vice Chancellor. It took 3 years to get the projects from Ministry of Donor after long persuasion. And I found that when we have a river like Brahmaputra and such a vast river, we don't have a study center for Brahmaputra. If we really look at the Brahmaputra in all scientific perspective, I'm sure many of the problems related to the river could be resolved. Well, we in Assam, Brahmaputra and Barak river systems are the two major systems. We sometimes appear to be extremely complicated. And more importantly, the elongated Brahmaputra valley with around 80 kilometer width is something which really keep the people of Assam in a situation where from we see a difference from the rest of India. But the fact remains that there are 40% of the population in Assam is suffering from flood, as against the 10.2% of the population. Coming at the past winter, tweeting winter days. And therefore, we need to look from the perspective. And the very important thing is that we have to see that the river Brahmaputra is no doubt a very huge river, and we have to look at from different perspectives. And one or two points I have to raise because I have got a call for the other meeting just now because it's already started. I'll be very brief now because of the fact that the Brahmaputra river
Sorry, you have to unmute yourself. Yeah.
Can you hear me? Hello?
Unmute.
Hello?
Yes.
Yeah. Now?
Unmute.
Yeah.
Now you are audible, sir.
I can. You could not hear the earlier part? Could you hear?
Yeah, I am hearing.
Is it audible now?
Yes,
Earlier
yes.
it was not audible?
You are audible. You are audible, sir. You can continue.
Earlier, yeah, I can continue, isn't it? Okay, fine.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I'll be very brief because I have got a call from the other meeting. And the fact is that we really handle the river Brahmaputra with different engineering practices. Coming. Just 2 minutes. Coming. Hello. Huh? Therefore, anyway, actually, what is very important for me today is the fact that we cannot the river Brahmaputra cannot be handled only by river engineering practices, but we have to look into the scientific aspect, the scientific modeling to the peer reviewers. It is very, very important to handle the river Brahmaputra, and mere engineering practices with a localized system cannot be able to resolve these issues. Another important issue is that we have many issues related to rivers, related to pollution, and there's many of the rivers like Kuridihing, Disang, and Dikho, the spillages from the oil, which ultimately go loaded to the river Brahmaputra. And all these issues are very important, and I'm sure that today the panelists will go into the details of the discussion and handle this issue. And as I have to leave now, I could not really deal with all the points. I have to start as we had started late. I wish that panelists will take care of all the points and issues related to river Brahmaputra, make the discussion extremely exciting. And I will be joining after half an hour, 45 minutes. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks to Mridul Hazarika sir, who started the proceedings on our behalf, but unfortunately, he has a very pressing kind of engagement. But he will resume his participation in next half an hour, and he will also be there during the question and answer session. So what he said and what was very important for us as a message is that a river like Brahmaputra and its tributaries in Assam cannot be managed only by engineering methods or structural methods. Therefore, we also have to think of non-structural methods which could be of many types, including ecological and eco-hydrological kind of strategies. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we have a person who will be following up from where Mridul Hazarika sir stopped. And we have a very eminent person in Engineer A.K. Mitra, who is a former secretary of Department of Water Resources, Government of Assam. And now he is the chairman of the Technical Advisory Committee, the committee which takes decision about all water-related projects in Assam, in the same department, Government of Assam. He is very well known, he's a very well-known engineer, scientist, and technocrat in the field of river science in India. He has about 5 decades of experience in the different facets of water resource management in Northeast India. But his core area of expertise is flood and erosion management. He is a former chairman and National Council member of the Institution of Engineers. He is also associated with a number of national and international professional bodies. Now I leave the stage to Mitra sir for his deliberation on his preferred theme related to rivers. Sir.
Thank you, Dr. Das. Do you hear me clearly?
Yes, loud and clear.
Nice. Okay,
yes.
Thank you very much. Yes, so good morning to everybody present over here. We are celebrating the World River Day today, the 4th Sunday of September 2020. In fact, this started in from 2005. One international river conservationist, Mr. Mark Angelo, he is the founder of this World River Day, and he remarked that the rivers are the
Huh? So something is wrong with your internet connection or what? I think he is speaking. Oh, we are not listening.
He is not audible properly. Probably he is speaking out, but he's not audible.
Hello, sir. Huh? His video is done. Hello, sir. His audio is done.
We are unable to hear.
Oh. What happened? Is the problem on his part, I suppose?
No, his part, his internet.
But he's still speaking. We can hear him speak.
He doesn't know. Yeah, he doesn't know that.
I think you should call him.
Yeah, I'm calling him.
But we still can hear him a little bit. I wonder what is
No,
the problem.
that won't help. That won't help.
Do
We
you
can't
hear
make
me?
out it. Yeah,
Sir,
now we can hear.
we actually missed out what you said for last 2-3 minutes. So can you please repeat very briefly, because you went silent actually. There was some internet problem on your part. Although you were speaking, we saw you were speaking,
Yeah.
but we didn't hear. So
Yeah.
please.
No, what I do, I will not lose 2-3 minutes time further.
Okay.
What I do, you have already informed the panelists that I will
Yes.
start where from Dr. Hazarika has gone.
Mm.
So I'll start with the state of rivers of Assam. As the host told that this is the 5th decade that I am associated with the rivers of Assam. And I have seen the rivers very closely, very intricately. In fact, the rivers network of Assam is the densest river network of the world. The annual yield is the highest in the world. 125 rivers, including the 2 major rivers at Brahmaputra and Barak. There are about 41 numbers of major tributaries. The uniqueness of this network is that the most of the rivers emanating from the surrounded hills outfalls to Brahmaputra. So this is one of the most interesting and phenomena and the challenge, the sediment transportation, the sediment and the silt transported by all these rivers are dumped in the floodplains of Assam. For this reason, the rivers, one of the, hello?
No, nothing, sir.
Hello?
Nothing.
Hearing me?
Yeah, we are hearing you, sir.
So one of the major reason for degradation of the river system is this silt transportation, sediment transportation, and accentuated with the seismicity. As we know, the entire Northeast is in zone 5 and very occasional tremor is there. And I have been told that small tremors is there throughout the year of the magnitude of 2.5 to 3. So the young geology that cannot sustain and the sediment and silt flows along the rivers to the floodplains of Assam, aggrading the river bed to a considerable extent. We can remember the aggradation and degradation of the river bed after the massive earthquake of 1950. Of course, that type of earthquake didn't occur till now, but there is always aggradation and degradation along the rivers. Now the tributaries which are coming from the neighboring states, they do carry a lot of silt and they also create problems. Now, if we think of pollution, although general people's idea is there is hardly any factory, hardly any industry in Assam, so the rivers are not polluted. It's not that. There is pollution. There are 44 stretches in Assam and 60 stretches in Northeast where the river is polluted. So this is also a very important aspect which will have to be considered when we talk about degradation and pollution of the rivers in Assam. In fact, the rivers, or these 41 tributaries which have come from the Arunachal Hills, Bhutan Hills, Nagaland, Mizoram, and Manipur Hills, these rivers, they are mostly outfalling in the Brahmaputra, and some are going to. Hello, hello. Are you hearing me, Partha? Hello.
Yes, we are hearing you. Yes.
Thank you. Now, what are the challenges? Challenges are mostly the rivers which come from the other states, that is, state-specific rivers which are coming from the upstream and the transboundary rivers. So far the Brahmaputra is concerned, you are all aware that Brahmaputra is combination of Siang, Dihang and Lohit. So we say this is a main stream of Brahmaputra. The transboundary stakeholders are China, Bangladesh, Bhutan, and India. And we have a lot of common rivers with Bhutan, which emanates from Bhutan hills, flows through the India, that means through Assam, and ultimately debouches to Brahmaputra. So the understanding, the cooperation of the upper reaches are must. I have gone into the details of such type of interference from the upper reach states and seen that one of the reason of degradation is due to the debris coming from the upper reaches. We don't have particular information. So the management part remains in dark about the situation, about the condition at the upper reaches. If we think that we will determine the ecological, geomorphological, and hydrological parameter in Assam, we need to know the health of the rivers at the upper reaches, state-wise and also international. So this is the main issue. I would like to subscribe on that this is the main issue, in fact, the understanding at transboundary level as well as national level. We will have to have cooperation, understanding, trust, and confidence among ourselves to have a strategic management for the sustenance of the human being and the ecology. So this is the main issue we should trust upon, and I am very happy to know that Aaranyak and SITA, that is State Innovation and Transformation Ayog, jointly is going to take up one project from Government of Assam regarding upgradation of a degraded river. That is very good, and I hope that will be a success. And here I would like to inform the panel members that we have been able to get a World Bank project, for which during my service career, we are trying our level best for scientific study of all these major rivers, including Brahmaputra main stem and Barak main stem, the scientific study with the modern technique. But due to some reasons or other, this has taken time, it was in turbulence, and ultimately I have been given to understand that a project of 650 million US dollars have been approved for scientific study of major rivers in Assam. So this will give an access, because it's a World Bank project, so they will be able to get the information, the data at the upper reach. Let us hope so. And initially stage, we have selected 6 rivers in the Brahmaputra Valley and 2 rivers in the Borak Valley, for which the World Bank will start their scientific study. Discussion and other paraphernals are going on. Hopefully, in this season itself, they will start the work. So this is a very positive development, I must say, because when we are telling that the sustainable management, so this is very important if we want to have the sustainable management, and we'll start doing strategic long-term planning, because it's a huge river network. I had the privilege to travel through Brahmaputra from Guizan to the Bangladesh border twice. I have seen that river. It's a magnificent river. I have seen again this river by a survey ship, and I could see the deterioration of certain major tributaries which are debouching to Brahmaputra. Most of the rivers I have mentioned, I have traveled through the rivers. I have seen the river. I have seen the deterioration which are happening mainly because of the fact that this entire system is dynamic, and it is Brahmaputra itself is continuous building. So there is always some avulsion. We say avulsion. There's a merger of rivers, small rivers with big rivers, that is happening, which are most unwarranted, and that causes the degradation of rivers very much. So these are the all issues which have been elaborated to the World Bank while preparing the project which has come up now, and I do hope that they will take care, and at certain level, the organization like Aaranyak, they will be definitely doing the work for the rejuvenation of degraded small rivulets or tributaries. Like we have already approved a scheme of rejuvenation of Kolong River. So that will be wonderful if that rejuvenation comes up. So like that, we will have to go ahead by the state also to have the rejuvenation or revamping of the already degraded water channels for the sustainable development and sustainable well-being for the rivers and the human well-being, because the rivers support the biodiversity and ecology, which is unique in the Northeast. And we cannot afford to have the deterioration of this flora, fauna, and the entire river system. So it's a high time. And I do hope that in this auspicious day of World River Day, we should commit that we'll do all out efforts for the survival of the degraded rivers and try our level best at all levels to maintain the health of the rivers, which are the lifeline of the people. And we are so involved intricately with the rivers now also during the time of the urbanization. In Assam, we are deeply involved with the rivers, and we want survival of the rivers, which will harbor this beautiful ecosystem and biodiversity. Thank you. I have taken 10 minutes, I think. Thank you very much.
Sorry about out of time, and thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. You have very succinctly, summarized the whole significance of the World River Day, and at the same time, you have provided us very important information. For example, the whole plan of studying the rivers of Assam with World Bank, and also about the rejuvenation of Kalong and all that, which are useful information for us. Thank you very much. There are a couple of questions for you. We will put this question to you at the end of the deliberation when all speakers are over.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank
So,
you. Thank you.
I mean, when Mitra sir was talking about, scientific study of rivers, the word that came to my mind is potamology. Potamology. The word, I'm sorry, Mitra sir is smiling because this word is an archaical English word which is very, very less known nowadays. Ladies and gentlemen, potamology means scientific study of rivers. Once upon a time, during the colonial and just post-colonial days, the Britishers used this word a lot. I mean, that is one of the, that can be one of our take-home messages, that, I mean, to be able to help our rivers survive, we have to know and understand the natural behavior of our river. Means we have to generate knowledge, and that is why we have to study. And this has to be a scientific study in an integrated sense. Means the science of river, application of science to river studies, as well as taking also into account the traditional science and significance of rivers, which is a part of our rich heritage of indigenous wisdom. So your lecture has opened doors to many such issues, which will be now taken up by different panelists. You have said, sir, Brahmaputra is a great river, and we also said that equally great is the Brahmaputra civilization. And when we call about the great people and great history and civilization of Brahmaputra, what comes to our mind is the social and cultural characteristics of different communities which are dependent on rivers, which are a part of rivers, and rivers being a part of their life. And we have Professor Chandan Kumar Sarma from the Department of Sociology and Social Work in Tezpur University to speak about different social and cultural aspects and values of rivers, and especially how rivers have shaped our history, shaped our culture, and how rivers are an integral part of our life, and why with degradation of rivers, our culture also degrades. Professor Sarma is a highly reputed sociologist and a commentator on sociological and political and environmental issues of Northeast India. His core expertise includes environmental sociology, social demography, urban sociology, social movements, and sociology of Northeast India. He is an author of several books, and he has consistently engaged with socio-ecological issues of the region through his lectures and writings. Now I request Professor Sarma to kindly present his thoughts.
Thank you, Dr. Bartosz Das, and thank you for inviting me, holding this discussion and inviting me to share my thoughts, albeit in a very brief manner, with you and other participants. But before that, I would like to compliment everyone here on the occasion of the World Rivers Day. Following from the first two presentations, where the importance of river and new thoughts on the river management, how it have been highlighted, and I will just draw it from there. I mean, why rivers are so important, not only is as in utilitarian perspective, but how rivers are also very important from a cultural point of view. Rivers are important from societal point of view, and how rivers have contributed in determining and shaping the life and livelihood, culture, customs, folklore of people in specific regions. And it is common knowledge that civilizations around the world have actually flourished around rivers and river banks. So Brahmaputra is also a river around which we know the civilization of Assam, the society in Assam has actually developed, evolved over the years. And so much so that many would now, as you have just mentioned, even have ventured to refer to these these social formations as Brahmaputra Civilization. Of course, Brahmaputra is the lifeline of, say, for example, Brahmaputra Valley. Similarly, Barak is the lifeline of the Barak Valley. And both rivers have contributed immensely to the development of society and culture in their own regions. If you look at Brahmaputra, right from east to the west, it served as a very, very important waterways once, and it served historically. And we see how it facilitated the movement of people. And in the process, it helped the formation of societies along the bank of the river, and where you do not find people of only one group of people belonging to only one ethnicity, settling, but people from other areas also are coming and getting assimilated. So there is a process of social synthesis which have evolved over time and has given shape to the kind of society and history that we today know as Assamese society or Assam's history. However, what is also very important to understand that while Brahmaputra's contribution in shaping the course of history and society in Assam is unquestionable, but we often forget the role played by the small rivers, and these small rivers who provided these arterial waterways to most interior areas. And so by facilitating the movement of people, traders, and so on and so forth, they have also therefore facilitated formation of societies and synthetic societies and culture in those remote areas as well. So therefore, not only Brahmaputra, even the smallest rivers in the valley had a very important role to play in the formation of societies, not only along the Brahmaputra, but also in the interior areas. And these observations actually are testified if you look at the biography of Sankardev and other Neo-Vaishnavite gurus, and how they, in those days, used to move to the most interior areas using the waterways, and thereby establishing seats of Neo-Vaishnavism in those areas. And we all know that Neo-Vaishnavism became one of the main pillars of the future society in Assam, or today's Assamese society. Similarly, we also see how, in the Barak Valley, the Barak River, which of course becomes Surma and Kushiara in Bangladesh, but the sharing of culture across the border. You look at, for example, Western Assam and the districts in Gwalpara or Dhubri, what they share, the commonalities that they share in culture and music, especially Bhatiali music, which is known to everybody, across the border. So there are multiple examples of such sharing and how rivers gave rise to or contributed to the evolution of this synthetic culture in this region, which I call a continental crossroad. So borders are new, borders are artificial, but rivers cannot be, or riverine civilizations cannot be limited to man-made boundaries, and these are proofs of that. But today we face a lot of problems of degradation of rivers, pollution of rivers, and many rivers have actually have become dead. And they say, linguists often say that even the loss of one word in language actually is the loss of years of collective wisdom of a community. Just imagine then what will happen when a river disappears. And I mean, of course, there are certain utilitarian impacts when a river disappears. For example, people lose livelihood. For example, Kolong is being mentioned here, and my own study has shown how people in the lower reaches of Kolong, many people belonging to the fisher folk, how they have lost livelihood. Once Kolong was blocked at its mouth in Koliabor. And, but problem is that it is not a mere livelihood. This livelihood also gave rise to the kind of specific culture and society that evolved in those areas. So I have seen this I think comes out as a very sad, poignant fact that while looking at controlling measures at controlling rivers or controlling flood, we have not given enough importance to issues like this. How a community, a whole community dependent on, for example, fishing has been thrown out of their livelihood and culture. So similarly, we see many rivers in Assam, getting not only polluted but getting fragmented because of development activities, both upstream as well as in the downstream areas. Of course, in the upstream, I'm not talking about only an international, beyond international boundary, but also within India, within our own national boundaries. The kind of, say, for example, deforestation that has taken place because of human intervention, it has posed a great threat to our rivers. The sand casting that has happened, how it has, the rivers, which is to be very, very narrow, but but is to contribute greatly to the flourishing of agriculture in certain regions, now have become such a curse to them because the riverbed has, it has widened because of siltation and has posed constant problem to the people. So, on the other hand, if you look at, say, rivers, many rivers in Upper Assam, small tributaries, how they have, because of many development activities there, especially oil fields and so on and so forth, how they have, and the release of effluents, how they have actually, many of them have actually disappeared and many are facing extinction. In Guwahati, in front of our eyes, we have the example of, Borolu and Bahini rivers. So I think these are great challenges to us. And if we do not take enough, adequate measures and timely measures to conserve, protect, or even restore these rivers, then I think, a very important part of our civilization and society might lose, in near future. And I believe that, for many, that may not be a very important consideration, because people who look at this utilitarian perspective of water, in the name of development. But problem is if this continues, then we, from the utilitarian perspective also, we have seen how disappearance of rivers have actually created its own problems. The so-called development paradigm, the perspective that is being followed. Look at Guwahati. There are no catchment areas where water bodies which can hold water. So as a result of which, the city life has been thrown out of gear every monsoon. So I believe that so rivers must not be, therefore the water resources must not be only looked at from an utilitarian perspective, but we have to give enough importance, equal importance, to the societal, cultural and aspect and civilizational aspect. Because otherwise, if we do not do this, and they can pose any problem at any time to our civilization, to our culture, to our society. This is, I think, what we need to take care of, and that is why I believe that water management policies must incorporate these critical issues. And obviously, there is no doubt that creating of consciousness is very important. Therefore, this kind of campaign for creating consciousness about rivers is also very important. But at the same time, comprehensive, sensitive policies for conservation, restoration, and maintenance of rivers is also equally important. And I believe, and as well as the enforcement of such policies. I think with these words, these are some of my thoughts which I wanted to flag before you, because this is one aspect which is often ignored by experts, and unless these societal and cultural civilizational aspects are not taken into account, I believe that in the long run, mere technocratic solutions or technocratic approach would not take us very far. They might even become kind of, Frankenstein's monster for us. Thank you.
Thanks. That was really a treat to, and valuable addition to the existing discourse on rivers and water, Chandan. And some of the issues that you have flagged will later be taken in detail by Vidyut Vikas Sarma, mostly about, whatever you have mentioned about the sewage and pollution and Borolu and Kalong, etc. A large number of participants in this audience are young people, we have learned. And as Mridul Hazarika sir has said, it's not proper to think rivers as a conduit of disaster, because rivers are also resources. But then the discourse also should go beyond it. Actually, rivers, it's not enough to consider river only as resources also. River is much more than that. River is actually an ecosystem in flow, a society in flow, and a culture in flow. Therefore, I request all the young researchers and students and activities also to give thoughts to these considerations, and also to find out how in his small community or small village or smaller hamlet, how their society and cultural moods and norms and music and literature reflect different kind of rivers and water resources. And that will in due course of time add a lot of information to the discourse that we want to create through this series of rivers. Now, ladies and gentlemen, two requests to the audience. Number one, we are happy to see that quite a few number of questions have already come for panelists. And those of you who have questions in your mind, please do not wait till the deliberation is over. Please already start typing your questions. It may not be able to accommodate all the questions, but definitely most of the important questions will be accommodated during the question and answer session. Now, I will go to my next panelist, who is relatively young scholar and a well-known one, Dr. Sanchita Barua, who is an associate professor and head of the geology department in DHSK Kanoi College, Dibrugarh. Sanchita is a specialist on ecohydrology, mainly riverine and wetland ecology and management. She is working on the Brahmaputra river system for the past 24 years. She has a postdoctorate in ecohydrology from the School of Biological and Environmental Sciences, University of Stirling. She has carried out and worked in a number of national and international projects on the Brahmaputra. She will present it on behalf of both herself and Professor S.P. Biswas, who is a very well-known aquatic life scientist from Department of Life Sciences in Developmental University. And Professor Biswas is very well known in the country for his expertise on hydrobiology in relation to fisheries and aquatic fauna like the Gangetic river dolphin. So I now request Sansita to give her brief Bible presentation on behalf of both Professor Biswas and herself.
Thank you, Partha. Thank you very much for inviting me to share my views on the river ecology and its contribution to river health. And I hope it will help the young, scientists and the young scholars who are out there listening to this particular deliberation. And Aaranyak has been doing quite a lot of good work over the years, and I have been associating with them. And thank you, Partha, once again. So let me start off with what exactly is river? Who controls the river? And what does the river do for us, right? The thing is that the water actually of the river, it runs the river. What is it? That is, in a river system, river has its own properties, and with its own properties and natural behavior, it maintains its own health. Now, who contributes to that health? What is its behavior? So now that behavior is, if I'm talking about, the cleanliness and the health, usually we come back to the biological entities or the biotic communities. Now, what does the biotic community do? They are actually the natural inhabitants which controls the total ecosystem or the river ecosystem. Not only the river ecosystem, it's a holistic, the whole environment in a way, because everything is connected. Now, the river has two main components. One is the flow, and another one is the catchment area. So catchment, we are talking about a hydrological unit where the water flows in and it contributes to the, discharge of the water of the river. And the flow, this flow is the one which actually maintains the health. So when we are talking about flow regime, we are talking about what's it called? The flow regime it is a four-dimensional entity. Now, what is that four-dimensional? It falls in a longitudinal manner. It flows from the source up to the sea, where it goes and it releases all its contents. Then lateral, it moves towards the sides. It moves onto the land. Then there's another component which goes down. Where does it go down? That is, it goes vertical. That is, it recharges the groundwater. And all these three, it keeps on changing over time. So what are the changes which takes place? So this is what that the four dimensions of a river we are talking about. So the next, and when we are trying to, when you're talking about river health, the water quality, the quantity, these two are the variables which, works on the whole biological or the ecological ecosystem of the river. And the changes which, the flow regime, it keeps on changing. And there are, who contributes to that flow? The firstly is, who contributes? We can say that there are actually two parts. One is the glacial melt and another one is the precipitation. So glacial melt is one regime and precipitation is another regime. So these have different names, scientific names. It's nevial, fluvial, and glacial regimes. But when we're talking about tropical rivers like us, so it is a complex. It's a multiplication of the fluvial, the pluvial, the nevial, and the glacial melt. Because the Brahmaputra and its tributaries, one part of it is fed by the glacial melt, and the rest, it is contributed by the precipitation. And this precipitation, it comes in different frequencies. So when we're talking about the flow regime, we can talk about 5 parts. One is the magnitude, that is how much. Then it's frequency, how often. Duration, for how long. Then timing, when, and rate of change. How does it change? Where does it change? Does it change according to season? Does it change according to year? What happens? Now, all these together, it has a connection, or the whole aquatic or the biotic communities are all connected to this flow regime. And the aquatic organisms, which are very integral part of this ecosystem, they have adapted themselves and they have evolved their life histories and the strategies which they go through evolution. They have evolved their life histories, strategies in direct response to the changes in flow regime. Therefore, if there is a change in the flow regime, it will have a cascading effect onto the total integrity of the river. Okay, so now let us move into a new, another part, that what exactly is happening right now. What is happening in the Brahmaputra? What happens in the Brahmaputra throughout the year? As we know that the Brahmaputra is a lifeline for us. Why is it a lifeline? Earlier, it was a form of transportation. Even now, it's a transportation. Longitudinal transportation. From here, it could be navigated up to the mouth of the up to the Bay of Bengal. But we are still trying to come up with that to maintain navigation. And secondly, the most important, it provides us with water. It recharges our groundwater, and it also provides us with the biological resources on which we are dependent on the protein which is required for our body. So we derive most proteins, and we are all vegetarians. So we derive most of our fishes from the river. So a river is very important from that point of view. And as Chandanda has already said, the socioeconomic part is also related, because accordingly, the livelihood options and the occupational status of most people are also dependent on the river, what the river has to provide, can provide to you. So now, when we are talking about changes which have taken place, or not, before that, let me come to it. What exactly, when we are talking about, we have talked about the longitudinal movement of the river. When it's moving longitudinally from the source to its, estuary, when it moves into the river, to the sea or the ocean, it carries along with it the sediments. These sediments have been causing a lot of havoc lately, of degradation. But when we talk about the biological entities, what happens is that the first flood which comes in, the first flow of water which comes in, that is required for the reproductive potential of that particular fish. So now what comes in, there are two parts. One is the sediments which come in, which is like from outside, that is allochthonous, and there's another one, autochthonous. So there are something which is created within themselves, that is the organic matter. So the river, the organic matter, and these organic matter, it decomposes. So the river also, while moving longitudinally, it brings in the nutrients, it brings in the sediments along with that, which increases the conductivity, electrical conductivity is required for, the gravid females to attain maturity and to spawn. Otherwise, if at the right time, the right electrical conductivity is not there, then what happens? Then the reproductive potential that gravid females will not be able to spawn. So it will undergo degeneration. So when it undergoes degeneration, these riverine fish, it usually cannot spawn in the main river. So it has to move in a lateral direction. Laterally meaning it goes into the floodplains. And within the floodplains, we have these wetlands. So the wetlands in Assam, mostly it is divided. We have two types of wetlands. One is open and one is closed. Open is which is connected throughout the year with the river. That is, there's a movement of fish, movement of aquatic vegetation in and out of the river on a continuous level. But in a closed one, it is connected only during floods. So these wetlands are the breeding grounds. It provides food for the fish, And therefore, these have to be regularly flooded so that the fishes and the other organisms, the aquatic fauna, they can thrive. So it's not only the fish we are talking about, it's the shellfishes, the birds associated with it, the reptiles associated with it. So even if one particular fish is gone, that means it might have a effect on another organism. The density, population density of another organism may be affected because it is a part of that food web or the food chain and the food web. So now this river, when it moves into the floodplains, it also flushes out. Along with it, the fishes enter, spawns there, and also it flushes out the macrophytes. So what are the macrophytes? These are the Icornia or water hyacinth, Meteca. So what is Meteca? Meteca is nothing but you have plankton, you have blooms out there. So it keeps on multiplying, it keeps on growing. So every year, once a year, it is flushed out, it is cleaned, it's cleansed. So this cleansing is required. Now this cleansing, when we are talking about the flow regime also, that when it keeps on moving, when you're talking about the frequency, so that frequency in a year, we usually have about 4 to 5 peaks. So the water level increases, it goes down, it increases, decreases. So that particular change in that dynamics, it's also very important for most aquatic biota. Then how long does it stay? So suppose it comes in as a flash flood and it enters and it goes out. So the animals will not have time to adapt itself, right? So that is why it has to come in a steady manner. It has to stay within the wetlands and then it has to move out. And what is the timing? So since each and every aquatic organism has its own specific life cycle. So this life cycle is also, kind of connected with that timing of that water when it comes in. So the catfishes, usually they spawn in early April. But the IMCs, they do it around, say, May, June. So when the floods come in, so they have to move into the floodplains. So the timing, and that is very important for it. So for the biota, it is required. But also there's another thing that the biota can also, adapt itself. They can change their own, survival techniques. There are different kinds of strategists when we are talking about, the species, any kind of species, maybe a microfauna or a megafauna. They have kind of strategy to overcome any kind of change. So accordingly, they either they breed a lot of offsprings, or they have longer lifespan. So accordingly, they are called as the R strategists, K strategists. So it depends how it is like. Okay. So then, after that, since if I'm looking into this particular river, if I'm talking about the Brahmaputra and its associated tributaries. So lately, it has been seen that the productivity of fish has gone down. Now, what is it? Why has it gone down? Is it because there has been a change in the flow regime? Has there been some man-made or anthropogenic changes which has come into it? Has the hydrophytes or the water not been able to move into the wetlands to rejuvenate? Or has there been overfishing? There has been too much of pressure on fishing? So one particular thing which I have observed, which has been observed mostly, if you go to Dibru-Soykha, their avulsion had taken place, and now one part of Dibru-Soykha National Park, which was the river Dibru, that has been converted almost, it is the main river Lohit now. Over the last 20 years, I have seen it move from maybe about a 50 meter to now it's about 50 meter to about, it's more than a kilometer right now. So this is the changes which I have seen. Now, how has it changed the whole land use, land cover changes over that area? How has it impacted the socioeconomics also and the biota? One particular thing which I have observed is that there were a number of dolphins out there, and these dolphins have they have moved. There were a number of residential dolphins which were there during the day. I mean, they would be there in a particular area, but they have been moving away. You don't see them now at the place where you could see them before. And you can notice that at that particular area, either the river has become very deep or it has become extremely shallow. Because these dolphins, they prefer to eat those spineless fishes like nerias. Now, our catfishes, they hardly like to eat the IMCs, the Indian major carps. So now what happens is that, suppose the dolphin is not there to control those catfishes, that is when these catfishes, since they are carnivorous, they would be feeding on the other fishes like the IMCs, and indirectly that IMC production has been going down. That is one way of seeing it, that the fish production has gone down. Secondly, another thing which has happened because of the sedimentation. Also, sedimentation also clogs the fins of the fishes, so it cannot breathe. So you can see a lot of fish dying. Maybe if the turbidity, if the the water becomes more turbid, even though conductivity is required, but we do not require too much of turbidity.
Sanchita,
That also has detrimental
sum up.
effects. Okay,
Sum up.
so then it has a connection with the socioeconomics, and what happens is that degradation, and erosion which has happened, we have seen that it has brought about a change in the livelihood structure. They were dependent on agriculture before, but now since the land has been eroded away, now they have been forced to move into another kind of livelihood. That is, they have gone into the river because they've seen only the river. So what they do, they have gone into becoming a fisherman. There were already earlier fishermen who were there since ages, but now new fishermen have come in because they have nowhere to go. And once new fishermen have come in, there is increase in fishing pressure. They would be fishing anything whichever is edible, even small fries and fingerlings. And these fries and fingers, once you take it off, these will not be able to bring back the productivity. So everything together has a cumulative effect in the ecological integrity of a river. So this is where the ecological health can be maintained by the river itself. That's it. Thank you, Partho. I think the time is already up.
Sanchita, thank you very much. I mean, to me, it was almost like, squeezing a large syllabus or module of eco-hydrology 15 minutes.
Yes, it was difficult.
I mean, it was difficult, but you have accomplished it. I was listening like one of your students. I mean, I learned so much.
Because you had given me only 10 minutes. I was like, I tried to do as much, but I hope.
No, your extra 5 minutes is justified.
Oh,
I mean,
okay. Thank you so much.
Before I proceed to our next panelist, Dr. Arun Kumar Sarma, I request all the panelists who have spoken till now to kindly have a look at the chat box. There are a lot of questions, very interesting, very, very significant questions for all of you. And please already start thinking about, you have to answer this. And if you think that there are certain questions which need very brief response from your side, you can also write. You can also write. You can also write. So, sir, Mitra sir, please mute yourself. We are listening your conversation. Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are almost towards the end of this very, very interesting, which is getting very, very interesting. I wish we have some more time, but time is always the villain in such occasions when there is more and more interesting issues coming up, and there is less and less time to devote. So my next panelist, ladies and gentlemen, is Dr. Arun Kumar Sarma. Many of you may not be familiar to him because he was not in this so-called ecological environmental development cycle till very recently. But now, after listening to him, you will know that how important he and his institution are for Northeast India as far as rivers, resources, and other development and environmental issues are concerned. So, ladies and gentlemen, I present now Dr. Arun Kumar Sarma, who is the newly appointed Director General of the Northeast Center for Technology Application and Reach, which is in short called NACTAR, which is a very important wing of the Department of Science and Technology of Government of India. Unfortunately, very few people in Northeast India know about this very important institution and its functions. Dr. Sharma is actually internationally known expert on plasma science and technology. So he is a plasma scientist. He did his doctorate degree from Guwahati University and his postdoc from the Institute of Space and Astronautical Sciences in Japan. He worked as a faculty member in the Department of Applied Physics of Birla Institute of Technology, Mesra, Ranchi. Next in Pandit Dindayal Petroleum University, and then very recently before joining NACTAR, he worked in the VIT University, Chennai. So Dr. Sharma will briefly highlight how his institution and his expertise and their expertise could be relevant to the water and river sector in Northeast India, what they are doing and how they can help in the coming days in generating information and knowledge about rivers of Assam and Northeast India. So I give the podium now to Dr. Arun Kumar Sarma.
Namaskar and good afternoon to all of you. Thank you, Partha, and of course both the organizers, SITA and Aaranyak, to give me an opportunity to be part of this webinar. I'm thankful to both the organizers for providing me a chance of taking part in this World River Day webinar. To be honest, I didn't know about this earlier. Hence, it is indeed a lot of learning for me, particularly on river management and other issues related to river. Although, as Partha mentioned in his initial introduction, I did born and brought up in the bank of mighty Brahmaputra, that is in Dhubri, Assam. So, I would be not talking more about the river that you know much better than me. And I will only emphasize how NACTAR can help you to make some of the river management projects successfully, along with some other water-related problems in collaborative manner, particularly in Northeast region. So when I've been talking about the NACTAR, as Partha told, that NACTAR is nothing but Northeast Center for Technology Application and Reach. It is an autonomous body under Department of Science and Technology, Government of India. And this main idea of this NACTAR is that to intervene technology or the indigenous technology which are developed in our country to be intervened in Northeast India. And our headquarters, I think, Partha, can we mute the mic? Others who are not speaking, please.
You are quite audible, and I request all other speakers who are not speaking to put their camera and microphone off.
Yeah,
I am on the tab.
Sanchita, can you mute your microphone? We are hearing to your whisperings. Sanchita, can you please mute your microphone? All speakers, please mute your microphones. Yeah, please proceed, Dr. Sarma.
Yeah. So, I'll be talking how the technology intervention in particularly water and flood in Northeast region. And as you know that the organization itself formed in 2012 by merging two big missions of Government of India. I'm just giving some brief of the NACTAR before I go to the actual the topic. And it was formed in the year 2012 by merging two big missions of Government of India. One is called Mission for Geospatial Applications, where we are linked with this particular topic, and the National Mission for Bamboo Applications. So first of all, let me tell you the mandate. Mandate is that how science and technology intervention and adaptable technology application in Northeast, which includes number one, geospatial technology applications, number two, communication and radio technology, number three, bamboo and allied technologies, and number four, more important, livelihood and social intervention. In geospatial sections, we are broadly working on four different sectors. That is again number one. 3D terrain modeling of river management includes flood modeling of river of various we have done on various rivers all over the country. Then we have an in-house UAV system, unmanned vehicle system with high precision making. So that we are using for the topographic and highway corridor mapping, agriculture, crop making applications. For your information, we have an MOU with Agriculture Insurance Corporation, Government of India, to do their this agriculture insurance related work time to time basis. Also, we have a facility, the remote sensing facility, through which we are doing lots of work under Prime Minister's Fasal Bima Yojana. So these are some activities that we do through Nectar. And of late, we have submitted a 5-year vision document to the Government of India. So how Nectar will implement its different projects in Northeast region, a 5-year vision document we have submitted, where we have given an emphasis more on a sector called flood and water. Along with, there are many others, of course, agriculture, food and poultry, which is the backbone of Northeast, textile and fabrics. If somebody have some questions, we can discuss about this more, because we are also we have also huge resources of textile and fabrics where technology intervention can play a very, very important role. Then we have a renewable energy. When I say renewable energy, we are more concerned about the hybrid system and the communication system. Bamboo applications, of course, is Nectar's one of the main resources of project that we are being involved with the bamboo applications. And in flood and water, we have already initiated few works, as I told you earlier, that we have a very, very well versatile and well equipped in-house GIS facility. So as many of the esteemed panelists already mentioned, that Brahmaputra bank line migration is very, very inconsistent, and with time, and it has been making a huge damages due to erosion in every year. At the same time, people are also talking about the environment, and we know that without river we cannot think about environment. So my sincere request to all the young the scholars in this webinar, that you should think about, our young generation to think about how to learn the updated technology. Since I'm involved with the technology, I will most concerned about the technology related issues on river management, and at the same time the software, the latest software related to these technologies. So that is very important for us, for the young generation to know. And for your information, let me tell you that Nectar has successfully carried out an aerial imaging of 50 square kilometer area for embankment and erosion study on the bank of Brahmaputra River as a pilot project in 2015 for Assam Disasters Management Authority and Water Resource Department of Government of Assam. In the 5-year vision document, we have proposed to take up 2D and 3D mapping of protection embankments of Brahmaputra River and its tributaries. We will also do mapping which will spanning over the entire 650 kilometer stretches of Brahmaputra River and its tributaries of Assam, measuring almost 4,500 square kilometer. This will definitely help the state government machinery in planning and designing, mitigating, reducing and controlling the future devastation to some extent, if not at large. One more proposal we have submitted to the ministry on reducing flood and river erosion risks by increasing community resilience using geospatial and ICT based tools for sustainable rural development. So these are why I'm talking about this proposal and project, because these are the projects that we are going to take up, and we need young people from the Northeast region to help us to study all this project. All this project, my concern is that we are supposed to do with the manpower from the Northeast region. And for your information, we have already, in the last 1 year, we have already trained 21 students from different parts of the Northeast on this different technology and the software, the latest software in our campus. So and also I'm extremely happy to inform you that of late, in the last week itself, Nectar has taken up a big project on preparation of master plan using state-of-the-art technologies for the whole Ganga River. And as a pilot project, it would be we would be doing basically on the Kochi River in the Bihar belt, And this is in collaboration with GFCC, Ganga Flood Control Commission, under the Jal Shakti Ministry. Here also we are going to involve Northeast student and the expert from the Northeast region. The project would be starting from the next month, October 2020. So one more project that we have taken up on flood and landslide disaster mitigation and control measures in any year. Here NECTA's intervention would be to support and set up the modern early warning and emergency management system with accurate prediction based modeling and weather forecast. At the same time, NECTA will support also the development of network efficient weather station in Northeast region for systematic weather data. So this is some of the things that we are, some of the projects that we are involved with the flood and erosion and all these things. And at the same time, we also know that the water content in Assam and Northeast is very, very dangerous. And as per the data, which I have seen, that almost 21 districts of Assam is highly contaminated with arsenic and fluoride content. So of late, NECTA has taken up an initiative how to mitigate all this with the help of the technology. And then we are being in touch with a technology which is basically called organic aqua solution technology. It is developed, more interestingly, it is developed in our country, developed in IIT Kharagpur, and it was funded by the Technology Information Forecasting Assessment Council, that is shortly called TIFAC, which is also a autonomous body under DST government of India. This technology can provide pure, safe, healthy drinking water to the community. So in this case, I must thank SITA, State Innovation and Transformation Ayog, Government of Assam, for helping NECTA, particularly to find out the places where to be installed this technology in Assam. Initially, we were thinking to install this technology in few schools and colleges, and if possible in small locality of largely affected area. SITA, Government of Assam, directed State PHE Department to locate places to be installed, and PHE Department has given us 8 locations in Borbeta, Nalbari, and Baksa districts. We are initially installing in all 8 places, each of capacity 2,000 liters and 5,000 liters per day. So initial 5 years maintenance would be borne by installation, and 5 years maintenance would be borne by NECTA itself. And after that, local authority can take care of all these things. What is important? What is the beauty of this technology? This technology is eco-friendly. Filtration media fulfills the toxicology leaching protocol and international standard protocol to test leaching of contaminants from media. It is also no synthetic and no nanomaterials are used here, unlike other arsenic mitigation technology. It has very negligible waste, water waste. And more appropriately, it is also called as laterite-based membrane for arsenic removal technology. Some more highlights of this technology are, this technology was awarded as top 3 technologies at Rashtrapati Bhavan during National Innovation Foundation by NIF and ICMR. It was incubated and mentored at GCIP 2016 by UNIDO and MSME, recognized as a startup by DIPP, recommended by Marshall Committee of Jal Shakti Ministry, that our interest is that what are the technology that is developed in our country, somehow these technologies can be taken up and given some opportunity to take up in a further way for the societal applications, and that is also fulfilling one of the main objective of our Honorable Prime Minister, Atmanirbhar Bharat. So already few of state government of our country has taken up this initiative to install this technology in their places, and in this context, Jharkhand and West Bengal are prime because they are also highly affected by arsenic. And after we install it successfully in few places, state government, I hope that state government will come forward to implement this technology in many other places in collaboration with NECTA. One more work that we have taken up, particularly in Meghalaya, this is very interesting, and the young generation should think about that spring water harvesting facilities. You know that Meghalaya in Mawsynram is the highest rainfall area, but if you go to the winter, still you are getting scarcity of drinking water in Mawsynram or Cherrapunji area. So we have tried to find out some technology which is called spring water harvesting technology, and our idea is that not to provide only the technology but also organize the workshop training session for the local people to get to know about the benefit of this technology and to get to know about the benefit of the water harvesting. And we will also provide technical know-how about the construction of cheap, efficient spring box, to provide training to the local management, and also at the same time we will also provide them some training on the science behind the water trapping and the conservation of spring box. So these are some activities that we have initiated on river and waterfront in short time. I think with the help of the state government and local authorities, we will be in a position to deliver with more than 100% efficiency. For your information, because many young people are also there in this webinar, so I would also tell that what Nectar can help you in order to get funds, because we are supporting funds to NGOs, we are supporting funds to state government departments, we are supporting funds to the local entrepreneurs. And that these funds we are supporting in two different schemes. One is called TOS, TOSS, that is called Technology Outreach Service Scheme, and one is called BANS, Bamboo Application and Service Scheme. The project can be submitted, but one more important thing I should mention here, that we are not supporting any project which is related to complete R&D. We are supporting only project which is some technological output and societal benefits are taking place through this project. Now it is very important that we know that lots of migrant workers have shifted to our places. So you should come up with some technology which can be initiated in Northeast region, and then through which we can also give livelihood to the migrant workers, because this is a very major issue. This is going to be a very major issue in coming time in our states. So we are this is what we give funds. So we give funds up to 2 crores, from 25 lakhs to 2 crores, but it has to come. It has to go through different processes, and on time to time basis we call for this project evaluation committee meeting. And in the last year we have already recommended almost 13 projects in different parts of the Northeast. And one of this is that we are trying to involve more technology oriented output in the great and famous Asharikandi village of Dhuri district. So that is what one project that we have taken up. So at the same time, we are also developing a mega techno demo center, which was already approved by the government of India in Guwahati. We have already identified 55 different technologies to be installed there, and this would these technologies we are bringing over there, but all these technologies would run on PPP mode. So if some technologies are there, if somebody wants to run and do some work on this technology, they can come forward. Any organization can come forward. Any NGOs can come forward. They can run this, and they can also generate the maintenance cost and all these things. Only thing is that we are concerned about this technologies, that we are going to organize some time to time the workshop and training program for the entrepreneurs, for the local people who are interested to take up this technology in the respective districts. And in that time, we will request particularly that group who are basically involved with the technology to give us at least for 7 days or 1 week to make a training or workshop program with the help of these technologies. So in that connection also, I am in touch with the government of Assam to get the land somewhere in nearby Guwahati, in order to make it more successful. You are most welcome to involve with this technology demonstration center. So I again thank you to organizers SITA and Aaranyak, and particularly Dr. Parthadas, who is a good friend of mine, for providing me an opportunity to share Nectar's view and upcoming project with you, and particularly the young community of our region. Dhanyavad, Jai Hind, Namaskar.
Well, Dr. Arun Kumar Sharma, thank you very much. And as I promised before his deliberation, that you will now realize how this man and his institution is going to be useful to the resources management sector, water, rivers, and overall development and livelihood sectors of Northeast India in multiple ways. And now you know how vast is the range of the work that they have started, or they are already implementing. Good to know that they are working on the Ganga basin. But since Dr. Sharma hails from the banks of the Brahmaputra, so we hope that sometimes he will also think about the Brahmaputra. and provide us some good technology as well as some good funds, and also give some opportunities to our youngsters to work for Brahmaputra, Barak, and other rivers. And thank you for addressing specifically the young generation. I can see that there are quite a few questions for you, and you have already answered all those questions. So during question answer time, you can save some time. So thank you, Arun, Kumar, Sarma. Ladies and gentlemen, now we come to our last but not least panelist, who will be taking up some of the most important issues that are waiting to be addressed. He is Dr. Vidyut Vikas Sarma. He is an environmental scientist, a PhD in environmental science from Guwahati University, with specialization on pollution of rivers and other natural riverine sources. He did his PhD on the hydrogeochemistry of the Kameng River. The Kameng is a very important river which comes from western Arunachal Pradesh and becomes Jia Bhoroli in Sonitpur district, and becomes a tributary to the Brahmaputra. He's conducted a number of research projects on water quality of rivers and wetlands. He also teaches in the Department of Environmental Science of Guwahati University as a guest faculty. So Vidyut, you are the person who will be speaking last. So there are it is not only about what you have already planned to speak, it is also about take cue from some of your previous speakers, and also address whatever you want in response to the issues they have already raised, but be as brief as possible. Thank you very much, Vidyut.
Thank you, Parthoda. I thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity to speak on this particular platform. And I thank the participants here for for taking out their time to attend this webinar on this auspicious occasion of World Rivers Day. Most of the early speakers have already spoken about various aspects of river management and how the river Brahmaputra, the Barak, what are the issues being faced by these rivers. And what are the different aspects of sustainable management of these river systems. But already Chandan sir and even Sanchita Barua ma'am has also spoken about pollution, but I would specifically speak about the status of pollution in the riverine systems and wetlands of Assam. Usually when we talk about the rivers in Assam, we mostly talk about the hydrological and the geomorphological characteristics of the rivers. But the pollution takes, but we don't talk much about the pollution issues. And this is because pollution, we talk about pollution of rivers only when it manifests into a civic nuisance, as in the case of Bharolu. Because I say this because I have talked to many octogenarians and even my grandfather, who used to say that in 1960s and 50s, 60s, in those period, Bharolu was not such like it was a natural drainage system. People nowadays consider it to be just not a drain, not a natural river, but as they treat it as a sewage canal. And this started happening that like this kind of deterioration is happening in different small rivers across the state. And the different and we woke up to this problem only after like the CPCB released its reports regarding the status of pollution in different states of the country. And according to that particular report, there are 44 such stretches, polluted river stretches in our state, and among them, and those are being classified as priority class 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that is based upon the levels of BOD, the biochemical oxygen demand. The priority class 1 being the most polluted river stretch, and among those 44 different stretches in Assam, 5 of them are actually wetlands, the riverine wetlands, and 39 of the other stretches belong to these are actual river stretches. Now, within those 39 river stretches, only 2 of the river stretches are in the main channel of Brahmaputra and Barak. and the rest of them and the rest of the river stretches they fall within the tributaries of Barak and Brahmaputra. Now, when we talk about this particular report, we find that it has been the most important issue that rises is that Assam is not an industrial state as compared to Maharashtra, Gujarat, Haryana, or Uttar Pradesh. There's a lot of industrial infrastructure development going on there, but compared to those states, it is quite negligible in our state. Yet we are in the second position as far as that particular list of CPCB is concerned. Now, why is it so? So this particular report is particularly based upon the BOD levels, and BOD indicates the level of organic matter, the organic load that present in the water. And if we talk about that, then it simply signifies that there's a lot of sewage coming in from different parts of the city or from other areas of the riparian areas, and these actually pollutes the river. So among the priority class 1 category of river stretches that has been identified in case of Assam, the two of them are wetlands, and the third one is the Bharolu. Bharolu has been identified as a priority class 1 river, and it has been recorded that the BOD level in that particular sampling locations, it reached up to a maximum value of 54 milligram per liter, whereas it should have been quite less than 5 milligram per liter. That's the permissible limit. So what causes this kind of pollution is very important, and people who are from Assam, they are very aware of the fact that we do not have any sewage system, public sewage system in our state, and we do not have any sewage treatment plant as such in our state. And this is the main reason behind the pollution of our rivers as far as BOD, the parameter of BOD is concerned. However, apart from this this kind of organic pollution, there are other forms of serious pollution in our state, and this includes the oil spillage, the heavy metal contamination, pesticide pollution. I have seen somebody raising question regarding the application of pesticides in agricultural field. It is true that there is this occurrence of pesticide pollution in the river waters, and we also have a very recent study also have recorded polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons in the river water and sediments. So if I talk about some records, some data regarding the polluted stretch of Brahmaputra, so the CPCB records that it states that the BOD levels in the Brahmaputra polluted river stretch from Kherghat to Dhubri, it recorded 6.4 milligram per liter. So it is maybe it's less than the Bharolu's record, but 6.4 on all instances of sampling is definitely a serious issue. And the BOD values in the river stretch from Panchgram to Silchar, it recorded the BOD values in the range of 3.5 to 4.2 milligram per liter. So and that is why it is recorded as the class. It fell in the priority class 3. Fell in the priority class 5. So if we talk about the various sources of sewage, how the organic pollution is being, how the sewage is being dumped in the rivers, then we must say that the government machinery has failed to check the flow of sewage into the stormwater drainage system, because there isn't any sewage system in the state. And most importantly, in that particular list of CPCB, there is a very serious concern regarding the Deepor Bill. Deepor Bill is the lone Ramsar site of our state, and it is also a protected area, a wildlife sanctuary. Yet the BOD values were beyond acceptable level, and it was recorded as 10.6 milligram per liter. Even in our own researches and researches carried out by different other institutes, the BOD levels in different sampling locations, the dissolved oxygens and some sampling locations in the Deparville and Bharolu River, which is an urban river system, it was beyond the acceptable limits. It was beyond the permissible limits. So, in a natural water system, the BOD level should be typically less than 5 milligram per liter. Whereas if we simply analyze the sewage, then we'll find that it is always above more than 220 milligram per liter. So somehow we have been like not able to control all these things, and we have caused a severe pollution problem in the entire state. And I feel that the technological interventions in the form of STPs are very, very necessary at present. And when we talk about heavy metal contamination, now I must stress upon that because heavy metals are very dangerous. And we usually talk about groundwater contamination by arsenic and fluoride, which is also a menace in our state. But river pollution by heavy metals is also a very, very serious issue, because in a very recent research by some researchers from the Cotton University, which has been actually published, they found that the levels of nickel, chromium, cadmium, and mercury were beyond the permissible limits in the Brahmaputra River, and this sampling was carried out along the stretch of in the sampling sites along the Guwahati city stretch. So from that we might simply assume that this heavy metal contamination is actually being it's the source of this heavy metal contamination is from industrial effluents or from industrial effluents from the Guwahati city. But it is true that industrial effluents can lead to such kind of heavy metal contamination, but there is a natural factor also because of chemical weathering and the weathering process. Geologically, these elements are present in the various rocks and minerals, and because of weathering, it flows down to the river system, and we will find this such kind of heavy metals in the river water as well as in the river sediments. So the natural presence of heavy metals is there, but it is an issue that effluents should be controlled and should be tested regularly so that heavy metals are not coming out along with the effluents, and they are not being dumped directly into the river without treatment. So the laws are there. When I talk about the Bharolu River, why is it so? Why the condition of Bharolu River? It's very interesting because, as I said, that in 1950s, 60s, or 70s, the condition was not like that. But after this started happening somewhere in 1983 to 85. After that period, the Bharolu started degrading. Why? There are two reasons. Because first, the flood control department, now it's known as the water resource department, the flood control department, they diverted a section of a major portion of the Bahini River, which is actually the upstream of Bharolu River, to Basishtha to control the deluge in Guwahati city. And when they did that, they did it along with by setting up a sluice gate in a particular area. After that construction, the natural flow to Bharolu decreased, and I will use the term e-flow, the environmental flow decreased, and as a result, the Bharolu started losing its natural hydrological characteristics. And
Vidyut, it's time to wind up, Vidyut.
Yeah. And also because of the shifting of the capital city from Shillong to Guwahati, there was a lot of urbanization and rapid development of the region without the setting up of without the establishment of any kind of sewage system, and which resulted in this kind of situation in the Bharolu River. So I would say that this kind of river degradation will be a serious problem And one more interesting fact is that so some researchers have also determined the levels of pesticides like pesticides and organochlorine pesticides like the DDT in water samples in Nagaon and Divrugarh district, and this will definitely flow into the water bodies. Also, they have the same researchers claim that they tested 331 human blood samples where DDT traces were found. So this is very, very serious, which need further research and further investigations. Now, without any kind of strong mechanism to control all this, we will always fail in controlling pollution. We have the rules and we need strict enforcement of these environmental rules and regulations. And I would specifically state that the construction of a separate sewerage system along the stormwater drainage system in the entire state is a must, and installation of sewage treatment plants considering the load of the sewage in Guwahati city or in some major other areas like Nagaon, Divrugarh in major cities and towns, STPs are a must. And to give a and I would say, I will also say that without public participation, this is not possible. People has to cooperate. So with that, I conclude. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Bidut. I mean, as expected, you have given us a lot of information, a lot of quantitative information about the current pollution scenario of rivers in general, and with special reference to the Waraloo and other polluted rivers, which is very important because that was the focus of the whole discussion, the degradation and near date and regeneration of rivers and ecosystems. Ladies and gentlemen, now having completed the panelist deliberation, it's time to go for the question and answer session. We have already overshot our stipulated time, but I request you to be patient and kindly keep attending the session until we complete discussing some of the very significant and very interesting questions. I apologize beforehand for not being able to accommodate all the questions because there are many questions. All are important, but due to paucity of time, we may not be able to address all of them. So to start with, I would like to assign a few questions to Mitra sir to start with. I hope the speakers have already seen. I hope the speakers have already seen the questions that were going their way, and there are quite a few questions which are general questions. That means anybody can reply to them, and I will, as a moderator, assign those questions to the relevant person. But the Mitra sir, there are couple of questions for you. I will read out the questions and then you please give a consolidated reply.
Please.
As briefly as possible. The first question is, what is the influence of major bridges and pillars on the normal flow in Brahmaputra river system? That's your first question. Then there is a question, what will be the reaction of river excavation, particularly the most celebrated one in Brahmaputra river excavation. In these questions, the person is actually asking about the dredging project, and I think what he wants to know is dredging feasible, will it work, etc. Then I think there was an important question for you, and which asked that in the World Bank supported scientific study that you have mentioned, which is taking off shortly, which are the 6 rivers in the Brahmaputra Valley and 2 rivers in the Barak Valley where comprehensive scientific studies will be beginning. So to start with, please address these 3 questions today.
Yeah, thank you, Partho. The first question which have been asked about the railway bridges. Yes, the bridge has got an effect because, it's the same phenomena which I have told. Particularly in the North Bank, it is predominant. In other South Bank also it is there, but not that much. Because the North Bank rivers do carry a lot of silt, and the river bed gets aggregated. And in that circumstances, the waterway gets less. The bridges which have been constructed by railways, particularly on the tributaries, they are with a particular waterway. Waterway means the total volume of water which can pass through. Now, if the bed is becomes aggravated and it becomes high, the waterway gets less. So there will be afflux, and that will harm not only the river, but there will be huge inundation and other damages. So normally in the department, this type of problems are tackled in collaboration with railways. There is a standing committee with railways, water resources, and PWD. They do sit occasionally and try to sort out the problems. There are cases wherein, particularly I will tell about this Dhemaji area, this Kumutia railway bridge that has been expanded for the requirement. So yes, there is an impact about the railway bridges. Number two has been asked about
dredging of Brahmaputra.
About the excavation. Excavation means this Patha has clarified dredging. This is a very important and controversial aspect. For your information, the total silt load carried by Brahmaputra and tributaries are 800 million metric tons, which is the highest now in the world, and that is being deposited. And the river is dynamic. And main issue is the sedimentation study. A comprehensive study hasn't been made as yet. So in that condition, if we plan for this dredging, that will not be correct. We'll have to have a study. Well, definitely, if the dredging is feasible scientifically, then problem of the flooding and erosion will be much less. But that will have to be studied. How much what will be the solution? But I will support for corrective dredging and for the benefit of the river flow. There are places where the corrective dredging will work, particularly at the outfall of the tributaries. I have mentioned that most of the tributaries emanating from the hills surrounded, they do debouch to Brahmaputra, and at the mouth, if the dredging is done suitably with proper judgment, then it will be very much helpful. Now,
the next question is about the World Bank project.
World Bank.
Which are the rivers?
The rivers are first river is Buriling, second is Jiadhal, then third is Gai, and fourth is Beki, fifth Brahmaputra Valley, then fifth is Kapili, and sixth river is Shingra river. So these are the six in Brahmaputra Valley, and Barak Valley. There are two small swift rivulets. One is Jatinga, and one is Harangajau. These are the two rivers that have been selected. These are not the final. It may change ultimately, but they will not go beyond these 8 rivers at the moment. It will take some time. So the 8 rivers will be taken for the first phase of scientific study. And as I have mentioned, this scientific study includes ecological and environmental also. Every aspects of the river will be studied.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Dr. Midul Hazarika, sir, are you there? Hazarika sir, are you there? Have you rejoined? Okay. Okay, he has not joined probably. So the next panelist to whom I am directing some questions is Professor Chandan Kumar Sarma. Chandan, there are very interesting questions for you. The first questions which I am reading out is how do you think the riverine communities can grapple with the interventions that the state agencies make in the river, and what are the practical processes by which communities can hope to participate in the decision-making process on rivers? That is the first one. That is available in the chat box also. The next one is, what are your thoughts on the role of autonomous councils and the ethnic groups in riverine socio-cultural landscapes? I think the person has put the question also in the context of rivers and riverine landscape. Now and then Chandan, there is a very interesting question which is not addressed to you, but I would like you to address this question. The question is, sir, giving permission to construct temple on the bank of river make the river more polluted. What can be done to make the people aware about not to throw earthen lamps and many other things used for puja purposes? So to start with, I mean, the third one is a little bit, tricky, but we should not avoid this question also. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you, Partha. I think involvement of local community is very important, and in fact, environmental impact assessment is also a provision which facilitates that. But issue is, when you have a small river, the communities are more or less in the know of things what is going on. But in case of rivers which are relatively bigger, not to talk about big rivers, a community is not necessarily in the know of things, what is happening, for example, in the upstream. And, so the issue is that, these issues are very complex. And so therefore, communities often are aware of the consequences. But how to intervene at the initial stage, in the initial stage of any kind of development intervention or so and so forth. I think the role of media, civil society organizations, especially environmental NGOs, researchers, are also very important, because rather than waiting for the consequences of some projects or some kind of intervention, how to preempt such interventions which are not conducive to a particular community or in the interest of a particular community, or in the downstream or in the upstream. We know how, say, communities in the upstream are also suffering because of different kind of development interventions, activities in the region. So I therefore believe that the role of NGOs, media, researchers are very important. And in order to, the second part of the question, you see, in order to ensure that, although we know there are certain rules, regulations, laws are in place, but in order to enforce this, implement this, I think involvement of larger civil society is also very important, because we often see efforts to scuttle this process. So unless the larger civil society, media play a role of a kind of a vigilant role, this may not be possible. So I think therefore civil society organizations especially have a very important role to play here in order to make it happen. The second question was, okay, this But why do you blame only the autonomous councils? I mean, governments and non-state agencies have really been engaged in blatant violation of the rules and regulations that are in place. I mean, in all rivers, we see how sand and boulder mining take place and how it threatens the the community life, not only the life of the river, but the community life in general. So let's not only blame or bring the autonomous councils, but government machinery as such, I think, have been either indifferent or in some cases, unfortunately, are also involved in blatant violation of environmental norms. And the third issue is, of course, our rivers, water bodies get definitely polluted by these activities that have been mentioned. And every year, for example, what about immersions of idols? And we know smaller rivers, water bodies, and they get, this is a very hazardous thing. And we all know that the number of such, say for example, celebrations and number of puja pandals, for example, during Durga Puja or Kali Puja or whatever, these are also increasing. So government has imposed some regulations of late in order to protect these water bodies, but I think much more needed to be done. And therefore, strict regulations are important, and enforcement of regulations are equally important. Otherwise, we won't be able to control this problem in future.
Just a minute. Thank you, Chandan. Thank you for very, very clear cut, and very, very, explanatory reply to these questions, which are very important. And I will now send some questions to Sanchita. Sanchita, you have two, in the first take, you have two important questions. The first question to Sanchita is, this is from somebody who has, or who is rather walking in the Dibru-Soikwa area. As per my observation in Dibru-Soikwa, due to presence of human habitation inside the park, overfishing is one of the major issue in the wetlands and the river in and around the park. So this is a comment, but this should you should respond to his comment whether you agree or not, and if you agree, and why you agree or you do not agree. The next question to you is, what is your view on sustainable livelihood, including tourism and developmental activities, to minimize the impact of aquatic ecosystem on aquatic ecosystem in and around Dibru-Soikwa riverine landscape? This is from the same question, and since he has mentioned tourism, coincidentally today is also the World Tourism Day. So we are in a way celebrating World Rivers Day, and we all know rivers are, how intimately related to tourism, and we all know that how important role river plays in development and promotion of tourism all over the world. So this is an important question. Both questions from the same person. You please answer.
Okay, thank you, Partha. The first question I would like to say is that people living inside the national park. So there is kind of ambiguity out there, because Dibru-Soikwa was originally a biosphere reserve. If it is a biosphere reserve, that means there is a buffer zone where people would be interacting with one part of the main park. But now it has become a national. The boundary of that national park has become a little, over my experience, I have seen that, the boundary has been moving, has been shifting. So the people living within that, in and around the Dibru-Soikwa National Park, main problem, as I had already said, is that of degradation, and loss of land. this loss of land, of losing agricultural land, these people, and agricultural land as well as habitable land. So the villages which have been near about, there were about 9 villages, and every time you go back every season, you keep on finding a new village. There was once a Motapung village. After 1 or 2 years, because of flood, it has shifted to the other side, and it has become no Motapung. So lately, I have not been there. I'm sure since the last 5 years, there have been a lot of other villages coming up. So that is one very important aspect of the National Park. And I think I've already, kind of covered that about, fishing activities. So because of that shifting of their settlement and shifting of agricultural land, depletion of agricultural land, so they have no option but to get into fishing. Most of them, they go for their daily laborers to nearby towns, but mostly they go back to fishing because that's the only thing they have known. Because earlier it was that they were fishing just to have a meal, but now it has become a professional. It has become a livelihood option. That is one thing. And if I can relate to this, kind of the developmental activities, I fail to understand what exactly the question is all about. What kind of developmental
So this
activities?
this question is actually
The second one.
The second one. He wants to know whether livelihood activities and tourism development also affects rivers and riverine ecosystems.
Because the ecotourism which had been started off in and around, because as you know, there is a wetland very close to it called as the Maguri Beel. One unique feature of the Maguri Beel is that the river Dibru flows through it. In other wetlands, you do not exactly see a river flowing, through it. But here, that river has flows through that particular Maguri Beel, and people have taken to ecotourism and tourism, I would say. And over the years, they have tried to bring in a lot of tourists who are interested in, who are avid bird ornithologists, bird watchers as well, and they have been increasing that. But lately, the thing is that the tourism has become more excessive. There's competition among the tour, the parties, I would say. So that has kind of, it is more of a social kind of a interaction or competition lately. So that I think the government can make an intervention and bring about some kind of, kind of training to them to go into a different kind of, maybe to go into, instead of going for capture fishery, they can go for culture fishery. There's one option that they can go for because they are interested in getting training in this field.
Okay, that's quite justified. Quite illustrative. Thank you, Sanchita. Mridul Hazarika, sir, you have rejoined?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay,
I'm here.
Sir, yeah, okay, sir. I would like you to give the concluding remarks, and we are almost approaching the end of this whole session. So maybe in 5 minutes, I will come back to you. Since you started the whole process, you will also end the session with your concluding remarks. So next, Dr. Arun Sarma, there are several questions for you, but I'm summarizing. In principle, what they want to know is that how research scholars or scientists from Northeast India can get connected to or can get associated with different projects and activities of Nectar. That is the main question which several people want to know. You have partly answered this, but if you want to say anything more.
Yeah, I think I already told you that there are the project that we have been taken up that are being done only through the Northeast student, basically on the riverfront and water distant sector. So these are basically when the project comes, we call students to apply, particularly from the Northeast region, and we send the letter to all academic institutions. Of late, we have been doing like that, and then also send to the different senior faculties to recommend few students from the respective organization, and on the basis of the recommendation from the organization, we select a few of them for the particular project, and accordingly we take them in the different project that we have already taken up. And then of course, in connection to that, I also told you that we have two different schemes who wants to submit project in Nectar. These two schemes are TOS and BUNS. In TOS, we are considering all the technology-oriented project. So you just go through our website, and you will get the details of the project. Now this is the formats are there, but very soon, maybe by October, we are initiating to online submission of the project, and on time basis we are also doing the project assessment, and then we are taking up the project for the actual fulfillment in the respective fields. So in TOS, basically you can ask for any technology related to it, which is also river, water, and all management, all these things. And as I told you also that we have a very good in-house UAV and the GIS facility and the remote sensing also, and we are also in touch with various other organizations. So with this, the collaborative mode, we are also taking a lot of projects. So you can come up, but basically you should go through our website, more details, and if required, if you can also directly write, there's the email ID, nectar@nectar.org.in, nectar@nectar.org.in. So you can write in that email ID with a brief concept note. I'm not asking you to submit the detailed proposal, with a brief concept note, and then accordingly we are forwarding, we are involving with this concept note to one of our project officer. So the project officer will be in touch with you to finalize the DPR, detailed project report, and accordingly it will be taken to the next level for the panel and all these things. So this is what we have been doing, and more importantly, I'm talking about that. More importantly, all the river related project which we have been taken up, we are doing only with the Northeast student. So Partho, if you, I have seen one question which is basically very much disappointing me. So I have to answer that question, which is
please.
Right.
I would have anyway sent that question to you, but
right,
please.
Right. So it is very discouraging to us because we should open up our mind to all. Somebody asked that what is the point of doing Nectar project outside Northeast? So it's very discouraging to see this kind of question, because we are doing this project with the Northeast student, and a beneficiary that we have to compete with the other part of the country. Otherwise, we will be always will be considered as some other entity. We are basically from other entity. So it is not like that. But the person has not gone through the other projects that we have been doing with respect to the Northeast. So it is always we have to keep our mind open and take up the challenges, whatever is coming to us, and try to understand these challenges and the solution of that within a proper scientific way. That's my point. So please come up. Please be more open and take it accordingly. So with due respect to the questionnaires, so I'm just saying that this should not be.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. No, I would also like to add to it actually, but there could be kind of a different kind of perception or maybe a misunderstanding. What actually people should know, so far as I have understood from you, that when you work in Chhattisgarh or Ganga, and actually Nectar doesn't, as far as I know, Nectar doesn't spend money from its core or corpus fund. These are all externally funded projects.
Exactly.
But when you are working in Ganga, somebody else giving you some money to work on Ganga, but you are utilizing a resource pool entirely constituting people of Northeast India, and that is an opportunity to improve the capacity of our manpower. I mean,
that's right.
Yeah, that's the message that should go. Yeah. Now, thank you very much, Arun. Now, my next one question to Bidut. One question to Bidut. Where is Bidut? Bidut, you are there?
I am here. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. The question that I want to ask you is that we have seen that this is becoming the biggest problem for our rivers, environment, health, public health, as well as sustainable development. the whole problem of river pollution. Each and every river is now, littered with garbage and liquid sewage, everything. Bhorolu, Kalong, these are all rank holders in India now in terms of pollution. Now, what is the way out? I mean, how can we think about a citizen science-based initiative to create awareness, as well as do something that really results in reduction of pollution? Can we think about something, how citizens and community can be involved in an initiative which wants to reduce, where the final outcome will be reduction in pollution?
Yes, Parthoda, I agree with you. Actually, already one of the speakers, Mitra sir, has also said that we need to know the river. We need to have a scientific understanding of the river. And when we talk about the pollution of rivers, the most critical part is that we need to have water quality data. Now, in different parts of the world, and even in some parts of India, citizen-based data collection is being encouraged. So we can involve the citizens in water quality collection data. Number one. Number two, we'll have, whenever we go for some kind of action plan. Now, in view of this particular CPCB report, the NGT has directed the government to come up with action plans. I have gone through some of the action plans in case of Assam, and I found that all of the action plans were concerned about that particular district which has been marked as polluted. But what I feel is that when we take up an action plan, the entire catchment area should be taken into consideration. When we take up the entire catchment area as our focus area, we'll have to take the help of the citizens, because we do not have such manpower. And also, without the help of the citizens, we will not be able to manage the ecosystem. We won't be able to manage the pollution problem, because it is we people who are contributing to the pollution of the river systems or the wetlands. So it is us who will have to correct it, whether or not we get the government support, or because government the intervention would be mostly in terms of the infrastructural development. As I said, establishing the sewage treatment plants, like the establishing about the construction of separate sewerage system, which should be separate from the stormwater drainage, because as of now, everything that flows down to the everything, including the sewage, flows down to the stormwater drainage, and that is being connected to the river directly. And also, a major part of it goes to the wetlands. So, without the support of citizens, we cannot get a very good result of any kind of intervention.
Okay. Vidut, I would like to stop. I mean, you have already, given a very detailed reply to that, and we got the essence of what you want to say. So, ladies and gentlemen, actually, I'm so sorry that I still have 6 or 7 questions looking at me for addressal, but I'm so sorry I can't drag it beyond this moment of time. And but only solace for me is that that the panelists have spoken and thrown light on many interdisciplinary and cross-cutting aspects of the riverain issues. I think that will help understanding of those the possible replies to those questions which are unaddressed. And I'm sure the people who have put these questions would also understand that because of lack of time we couldn't. But if they insist, and definitely we will try to send some answers through the panelists individually. So I now I would like to request Dr. Midul Hazarika sir to give his concluding remarks. Now, sir, you have started the proceedings. Now the panelists have spoken. And I'm so happy that there were so many good questions, intelligent questions, and very pertinent questions, which our panelists have, answered very honestly, frankly, and sincerely. And we know that this is this should go on, but we know that we have to conclude it also. So who can better conclude it and sum it up, please?
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Das. Thank you very much. And I'm sorry that I had to leave in between because of the call for another meeting. But as far as I am representing SITA in this particular meeting, I'd like to mention that SITA is extremely concerned about the water sources of the state, point one. And it is really pursuing the matter with the government as well as the trying to take up some projects to ensure that the water resources are adequately handled, rightly handled in the state. Moreover, you have raised the issue of the rivers, and the rivers, some of the nearly 25 rivers are dying. And more important, the fact that we are to be quite aware, and it's very important that we should bring about the awareness right at the school level as far as the rivers are concerned. And we need to love rivers, and it is possible only if we catch them young and try to build interest in the rivers, and the importance of the rivers should be really spoken to the young generation. And another important thing, Brahmaputra is always a river of our choice for all purposes, but for the fact that this is a transboundary river, and it is a problem. Brahmaputra cannot be solved alone within the country. It has to have a solution from across the border, and with the hostile environment that we have across the border, sometimes it is very difficult in sharing our data, and many other issues really come up. But we have to see how best we resolve the issues and in a manner so that the problems do come. The Brahmaputra cannot be solved by simply engineering problems. As I say, the engineering solutions and proper science should go into the river Brahmaputra, and the science and engineering should go together in resolving the problems of the river Brahmaputra. And what is important that our all small rivers passing through the cities, and these are very important rivers like Vodoro, it is going to, it is already been, the size has been diminished, and at the same time it is one of the most polluted rivers as I understand from the experts. And how best we can handle these rivers, how we can really do the system, the sewage system in the cities are really brought handled scientifically, how these rivers passing through the cities, not only this, but other rivers as well, could be really handled appropriately by going through our processes. But it is all the rivers cannot be handled by the public alone. The government's role is extremely important, and government should put priority on the rivers in the right perspective, and all people who are really concerned about bringing about the solution to the problems should be brought together, and the government to take the initiative and move forward. I, as representative of SITA, would like to mention that it is at the top of our agenda as far as the SITA is concerned, and I'm sure that in the coming days we'll try to bring about awareness on the subject and try to really inform the government about the issues that's to be handled, and all the NGOs and other organizations who are really interested in resolving the issues to come forward and put them together, and will try to resolve the problems appropriately. And I'm very happy to be a part of it, but I could not really listen to the experts talking because I had to go for a meeting. But at the same time, I'm sure this has been very, looking at the questions, I find that it's a very interesting discussions that we had, and the questions reveal the sincerity with which the viewers took the discussions. And I once again thank Arun for inviting me here, and I feel that in the coming days we will try to resolve most of the issues related to the rivers, which are of great concern for all of us. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for that very fruitful summing up, and also for ensuring your support, SITA's support to our future endeavors. Now, also, I take the same opportunity also to convey my thanks and gratefulness to the institution, SITA, State Innovation and Transformation Ayog, especially to Mridul Hazarika sir for representing SITA in this dialogue, and also to Mr. Manijyoti Borua, the OSD of SITA, for facilitating the whole communication, and the whole coordination. And then it is also time for me to announce that Aaranyak and SITA are going to implement a project in next 1 year, which is the title of this project, Dying Rivers of Assam, a study on degradation of selected rivers and riverine ecosystems in the Brahmaputra Valley for developing a community-based action plan for their rejuvenation. So by holding this particular session on rivers, state of rivers of Assam, and by celebrating today's remarkable day of World Rivers Day, we have officially launched this project, which will be carried out over next 1 year. And we have planned to hold a series of webinars to highlight on and to discuss many other pertinent issues which were flagged and which were mentioned but could not be expanded into full-fledged discussion or debate, because this particular session was designed in a way that we talk integratedly or holistically about rivers, considering all its important aspects. But we didn't want to go into details of all special features of rivers and riverine life and culture. So in the future, in the coming days, we have planned to hold a few other webinars where we hope to be able to do justice to many other issues which could not be elaborated on or couldn't even be touched upon, and where probably we will also be able to address some of the questions that we couldn't address in this session. So many thanks to all the speakers for finding time from their very busy schedule. And this particular session was also organized a little bit hurriedly, because we originally planned the whole inception workshop in the October 1st week, but we have to prepone it to merge it with the World Rivers Day. And it goes without saying that without the valuable deliberation by the panelists, it would not have been possible. But my most special thanks go to the very sincere, curious river lovers who are sitting in the audience. And very patiently, although we have gone beyond almost 1 hour, and I already had apologized for that, but I know that the subject is such that, and such keen interest is there in the audience for rivers and for environment, for future of rivers, for health of rivers, that most of them have actually continued to the second of this seminar. We promise you a couple of more online events till the pandemic is over. And once the pandemic's over in the next 1 year's time, and we still have enough time, then we will definitely organize a couple of in-person workshops where we would like to meet all of you. So thank you very much. And a lot of gratefulness from Aaranyak and from me and Udayan personally. And keep safe and take care. Thank you very much.